Well, hello there. This setting is farther afield from previous conversions, which have been fun for all. This one is cruder and heavier, but no less rife with story and role-playing potential. And so here is the content warning. This setting features violence, gore, and crude humor/language. How that affects your game will be gone into later. Also note that my usual way of presenting will still be loudspeaker friendly. Now with that, hello my lovelies, and welcome to Pop Culture for Pen and Paper, where we take the settings of various shows and media and see how we can turn them into a role-playing game. Have you ever wondered what making your way through the afterlife would be like? Specifically,
this is hell, Millie.
That place? Are you trying to make a name for yourself while leaving your past life, literally and figuratively, behind? Or maybe you're just trying to get by in a hard place that doesn't care but still expects everything from you. Then you're ready to hit the rings of hell in Helluva boss. Welcome to Hell, where the dead go to languish for eternity. The native-born do too, and you try not to die. Again. Or for the first time. Hell, as you might expect, is kind of big, being split into 7 rings ruled by one of the 7 deadly sins, with Lucifer as the head man above them all, and each resembling their ruling lord to some degree or another. From the pollution-producing factories of greed to the neon strip of lust. The metropolitan domain of each being further divided into various towns and small cities, such as Imp Town in the pentagram of the top ring of Pride. Take me down to the pentagram city where the flames are green and the girls are pretty. Urban decay, environmental hazards, and aggressive fauna abound, keeping everyone on their toes. Hell has the people you would expect.
After lovingly killing my wife for the delivery man.
After all, dead sinners end up here. But it also has the native-born denizens, such as the imps and hellhounds at the very bottom of the social ladder, to the upper crust of the wealthy and noble demons like the Ars Goetia and the sinner overlords, with folks like the succubi, baphomets, and fish demons navigating in between. The denizens are varied, each struggling with systems and institutions built by greedy and malignant jerks who reap ill-gotten gains, each in their own way, merely not always in the most healthy or beneficial manner. People are, after all, very frequently their own worst enemies. In the end, everyone just wants to get through another day in hell. As always, when it comes to picking a system, slotability is key, and Helluva Boss slots readily into the hard city noir role-playing game.
What the
Hear me out. If you look below the bright colors and high-impact energy, the show and its characters are very noir. Blitz and a number of other characters are people in a mean city that rewards crime and corruption, doing what they can to get by on their own terms while dealing with a past that regularly comes back to haunt them. The first scene we get is their office in shadow as a lady with a lit cigarette wants to hire them for a case of revenge. That is a textbook noir setup. Anyway, Hard City is a refinement of the Neon City Overdrive system. The core mechanic is roll a number of positive action dice equal to 1 plus any applicable trademarks, edges, and other advantages, such as equipment, environmental assets, etc., and a number of negative danger dice based on the difficulty set by the GM, character flaws, environmental hazards, NPC traits, etc. Matching positive and negative dice cancel out, and should the highest remaining positive dice equal 4 or 5, then you succeed with a complication, and if you get a 6, then you succeed with no strings attached. Huzzah! 1 to 3s are failures, and if after removing the danger dice, all your action dice are 1s, or you have no action dice at all, it's a botch, and bad things happen. If you want to modify the rolls or pull off some big stunts, then you spend points of moxie. That explains why Millie is so capable. She's got all the moxie. This is Hell, and Hell has a number of people types with any number of professions. How does one play them? That's where trademarks come in. Characters in Hard City are covered by trademarks, which are broad conceptual ideas that define what a character is and what they're expected to be able to do, with edges being further specializations of what a trademark gives you. Trademarks can be anything from circus performer to professional bodyguard to Goetia noble. As for your species, include it in one of your trademarks, usually whichever trademark is the one that is the main focus of the character. For example, Moxie's impness could be worked as part of his criminal past trademark or his present trademark as an investigator. Considering how he tries to distance himself from his mob family, you could say he's an imp investigator. Any powers or abilities the character might have from their species or being a sinner, such as a human disguise or spelling out targets, would be derived from the trademark that they applied their species to, with the option to have edges specializing in those powers. Any succubus can change their appearance, but if they have an edge in it, they are really good at passing as human. And as for sinners or nobles not being able to die normally, just remember, getting dismembered still hurts, and it might take a while to pull themselves back together. So if they would be taken out due to injury, they are instead off the case or current operation until some downtime passes and they've managed to reassemble themselves. Maybe with some lingering trauma, just for fun. The trademarks and edges are flexible and you can do a lot with them. Now let's make Blitzo.
The O is silent now.
Trademarks come in 3 varieties, starting with past, because those tragic backstories need something to define them. In this case, it's performer. He might not have been able to manage the crowd, but he can work the trapeze and other parts of the big top. From performer, he gets the Edge's acrobatics because he knows how to jump and swing, which synergizes well with his current profession, and charm. His sense of humor might be niche, but he can be convincing. I mean, he won over Veronica, and you can't do that if you don't have some game. Then there is his present, where he's doing what most people don't expect from an imp, successfully owning and operating their own business. Therefore, his present trademark is Imp Assassin for Hire. The edges here being shoot, as you might have guessed, kinda goes with the whole killing for money thing. Additionally, he gets the tail someone edge. Assassins need to be able to get to their target after all. Then there is the perk trademark, because who doesn't like perks? Let's be honest, Blitz has a reputation.
Well, if it isn't the deadbeat.
And so his perk is infamous, and being infamous can have its advantages, at least in the right circles. And you know, assassins tend to run in those circles. As for his edges, he'll take Distract, which can be quite handy when you need to run or make an opening in a fight. Lastly, he'll have friends in low places. A person operating their own business needs to network and have contacts after all. Your contacts may not like you, but business is business. After that, he gets 3 grit, which is his health, and 3 moxie to pull up his shenanigans. Then there is the choice of getting an additional moxie, grit, or edge. In this case, we already went with an additional edge. Say what you will about Blitz, but he is a skilled individual. Now that that's done, let's talk about flaws. Every character's got them, and Blitz is no exception. Besides helping to define a character, in Heart City, flaws make a person's life more interesting by adding danger dice to your dice rolls when appropriate. Additionally, when all your moxie is spent, it refreshes when you suffer considerable trouble from your flaws. So what are Blitz's flaws? If you thought daddy issues, no. I mean, who in hell doesn't have daddy issues? That doesn't mean they didn't cause his flaws, though. In this case, Blitz's flaws are jaded and self-loathing. Life from an early age has not been kind to him, and all the negative reinforcement and failures has resulted in a very poor view of himself that prompts him to lashing out in overcompensation. Needless to say, he probably refreshes his moxie frequently. After flaws come the drives, which is a short statement of the character's motivation to keep on keeping on. In this case, it's simple. At least at the beginning, show everyone I can run a successful assassin business. Lastly, there are ties. These are what connects Blitz to the other characters, and he needs 2 for character creation purposes. In this case, it's easy enough. Namely, Moxie and I shared a cell in prison, and I'm Luna's father. And that's Blitz, a wonderful little disaster fire. But I'm not going to leave our rainbow ray of sunshine out in the cold. Here's a quick run of Charlie Morningstar. She's a princess of hell with edges in connections and demon magic, who at present is the hotel counselor of the Hazbin Hotel with edges in charm and empathy. She is also a performer with edges in singing and dancing. As for her downsides, she does have a tendency to be naive and a bit of a people pleaser. She states her drives regularly, rehabilitate sinners. And her ties are, I met Veggie after an extermination and now we're dating, and Angel Dust is my very first customer. Before we get into the stories, as mentioned earlier, Helluva Boss and Hazbin Hotel can be a lot. There's violence, gore, suggestive themes, and crude humor. Not to mention both shows can hit pretty hard at times. With all that in mind, have a session 0, find out everyone's comfort level on those topics, and keep within that zone. Theme and flavor are important to a setting, but everyone gets a say in how deep they go. As for the kind of stories you can tell, those are as varied as the city of Hell itself. You can play it straight like the show and be assassins for hire. Hell is a big place with a lot of people who just don't like each other, so I don't think you'll be want for business. Hijinks to ensue. Another option is you are a troupe of performers trying to make it big. You work hard and try to cultivate an audience, but people can be fickle. So do you sell it for success or make it on your own terms? And how do you deal with the fans? Or you could lean into the noir core of things and play a group of private detectives trying to keep the lights on and do right by the imps and other downtrodden hellborn. Will the mobsters next door let you? It's 5 p.m. and time for another shootout. Another route you could take is to be a group of problem solvers working for a Goetia or some other higher up. How does this play out in light of Hell's social dynamics? Is the highborn on the level, or are they keeping something from you, and how does this align with your own wants and goals? If you really want to throw a wrench in things, you could play some humans who got lost. Maybe they got caught in the flow of someone who can move between realms, and now they find they've quite literally gone to hell. Do they get back to the living world, or do they try to make a life there? Can they find some help? And how do the denizens, both hellborn and sinners, react to some living yahoos showing up and making a mess of things? There are a lot of stories to tell, with a lot of energy and a lot of sass. So you have to ask yourself, can you make it through another day in hell?